So I was going to do a Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch kind of like 2-in-1 video where I talk about each individual one and how they're both pissing me off to a point where I don't want to see them anymore for contrasting reasons. But I feel like to make the video better and more in depth, I'm doing a Charlotte Flair video and a Becky Lynch video. Once again, I don't know when I'm going to publish these videos, but this Charlotte one today, really I'm just going to talk about why the Queen, the daughter of Ric Flair, in so many, in so few words, is an entitled brat and someone who very much is a great politician inside the WWE, because there's plenty of examples of this. The WWE themselves, Vince McMahon, just idolize Charlotte Flair. They think she's the end-all, be-all, the golden child, the heir to the throne, the face of the women's division. She's the one who, like, she's pushed to a point where it's not even polarizing with Charlotte, because it's not like she's definitively a face or definitively a heel. Like Becky Lynch, Becky Lynch is nowhere near as bad as Charlotte from this angle. Charlotte Flair, whether they have her as a tweener, a face, or a heel, they're going to shove her down your throat to a point where you want her off your TV screen forever. That's what they do with Charlotte Flair. Because in the WWE's mind, the women's division, which I know that term Becky Lynch just can't stand, but the women's division, women's wrestling in the WWE, however you want to put it, it runs through Charlotte Flair. Now, for years now, this has been the case. Ever since Charlotte Flair won the NXT Women's Championship at, TakeOver... When was it? The first TakeOver from Natalia. Ever since then, it's just been all about Charlotte Flair. For literally now 7 years, pretty much. It got worse, immediately when Charlotte got to the main roster, 2015, they introduced Team PCB, Team Bad, Team Bellas. I don't even know how I remembered that. Honestly, drop a like because I remembered what the team names were. That's how dedicated a fan I am, damn it. Okay? This is the elitist being great, or whatever. Sorry, go side tangent there. Anyway, Charlotte Flair, ever since they brought in Team PCB, Team Bad, Team Bellas, and that was your women's division, Divas division, whatever they were calling it in 2015, that was all it was. It was Paige, Charlotte, and Becky on one team, Naomi, Tamina, and Sasha on another team. Get it? They're on a team because they're women of color. They're black. Get it? So they have to be together. Just Vince McMahon. And then they had Team Bella, who was the Bellas, and I forget who was there. But so you had those teams. Charlotte Flair, from the get-go, you knew this was the golden child. You knew that this woman was going to be the primary piece of this division, because Charlotte Flair, she was the one to take the Divas title from the era of AJ Lee, Paige, Nikki Bella, when the title was just, it was going around between those three women for like a year and a half in 2014, 2015. Ever since Charlotte won the title at did she win at Night of Champions 2015? I believe. She won it at that show. So her first women's Divas, whatever you want to call it, title reign. She won the belt at that show. And ever since then, it's been over 4 years of, 5 years? 4 years of just this non-stop, just down your throat, give her the belt, give her anything, put her resume, just bolster her resume so that when Charlotte goes into the Hall of Fame, they're going to genuinely make her out to be better than her dad was. That's at the stage we're at. They're going to do the same thing with Charlotte Flair that they're going to do for Michael Cole with the commentary. You're going to be told at the Hall of Fame in 5, 10, 20 years when Michael Cole goes in the Hall of Fame that Michael Cole was the voice of this generation. Michael Cole was the greatest commentator of all time. Michael Cole was the one who, he was the voice of a generation. I think I already said that, but whatever. Michael Cole was the voice of this generation. They're going to tell you that when everyone with a brain who watches pro wrestling and enjoys pro wrestling knows that that's bogus garbage. Jim Ross is the one who deserves that, that accolade, that title, that, justification. But instead, it's going to go to Michael Cole. Same thing with Charlotte Flair. In a division where Sasha Banks, realistically, from a talent kind of perspective, should be the face of this generation as far as women go, it's going to be Charlotte Flair and then Becky Lynch with Ronda Rousey. If she comes back, she'll be at the top of Charlotte Flair. It'll be those couple, and then Sasha's just forgotten about. So Charlotte Flair, carrying on with my little story time with Charlotte, they just have her from 2015 through 2016, 17, 18, 19, just tallying up those title reigns, yeah? I think her Divas title reign went for a while, and then they did the what did they do? They vacated the title? I don't know. Whatever they did, WrestleMania 32, triple threat match. Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair. Winner becomes the inaugural, well, not inaugural, but the new women's champion. Scrap the Divas title, the women's revolution's here. Charlotte Flair. She wins the triple threat match, so your golden girl is your first women's champion in the PG era. So from here, Charlotte proceeds to play hot potato with the title with Sasha Banks. So by that point, it was the Raw Women's Championship. It was the Strawberry Shortcake title. Charlotte Flair plays hot potato with Sasha Banks for the women's title. So you're giving Sasha Banks these reigns, which are a week, 3 weeks, a day. So Sasha gets literally all her title reigns of her career in this 6-month little program with Charlotte. So Sasha gets her, 3-odd reigns there. Charlotte, meanwhile, so she dropped the title to Sasha on, the first Raw of the brand split. Won it back, SummerSlam? I don't know the exact dates. If you care, you can look it up and leave it in the comments, but it doesn't really matter. Point is, Charlotte gets the title back and forth. You're upping this number of reigns for Charlotte Flair, and it became so clear what you were trying to do in that 2016 period. It was no longer about Charlotte Flair being a great women's talent. It was just all about, getting her to 17. The road to 17 for Miss Flair. That's all it was about. And it just carried on. 2017, 2018, 2019. I'll use the example, Money in the Bank. So, Money in the Bank 2019. Becky Lynch at WrestleMania becomes Becky 2 belts. She has the Raw, the SmackDown Women's title. She's carrying the title out of WrestleMania into Money in the Bank. Charlotte is challenging for the SmackDown Women's Championship, which Charlotte... This is a whole other side tangent, which I'm going to get into now. Charlotte was thrusted into the WrestleMania main event in a position that really, it felt unnecessary for Charlotte to be in that main event of WrestleMania 35. Now, I'm fully aware, Vince McMahon, his dream, what keeps him up at night, outside of Roman Reigns versus The Rock, is Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. That was the WrestleMania 35 main event. That's what it was supposed to be. Becky Lynch was never supposed to be in the WrestleMania main event, okay? And this is what I'll talk about more in the Becky Lynch video. Becky, because Nia Jax is a terrible wrestler, Nia had to punch her in the face, and then Becky bled everywhere, and all of a sudden, the man was born. The underdog rise of Becky Lynch was born. And I'll talk about in that video why it's no longer an underdog with Becky Lynch. With Becky Lynch, as Punk said to Cena in 2011, Becky Lynch, she's become what she hates. She's the New York Yankees, so to speak, to quote the Punk promo. She's the one who now it's oh, well, it's Becky on top of everything. There's no longer oh, I want to see Becky succeed because she's been held down. She's been women's champion for a year now. Anyway, Charlotte Flair. Vince McMahon wants Charlotte versus Ronda. Now, whether that's happening at WrestleMania 36 or not waits to be seen. Once again, I don't know when I'm going to put this video out. Maybe it's been announced, whatever. Charlotte Ronda's the match Vince wants. At WrestleMania 35, that was going to be the main event, but Becky Lynch, she got involved. It became a triple threat. The whole booking with that was just weird. Becky takes Charlotte's spot in the Rumble, where Charlotte was supposed to win the 2019 Women's Rumble. She was the last woman eliminated by Becky, so Becky won the Rumble when she wasn't supposed to be there. And then Charlotte was she was in and around the mark, and then you had that segment where Becky got suspended, and then Becky came out of suspension. It was just really weird. Basically, Charlotte beat Asuka to win the SmackDown Women's title, so Asuka, who deserved the women's main event, so it should have been a 4-way. Asuka, Charlotte, Ronda Rousey, and Becky, those are your 4 women who are, they personify the women's revolution. Asuka, dominant for so long. Charlotte, the queen of WWE. Ronda Rousey, baddest woman on the planet. And Becky Lynch, the incredible story. Those 4 women should have been the main event, but it should be Charlotte versus Ronda. Vince McMahon. That's Vince. So instead of that, we got the triple threat. Becky won. So we got a match where Charlotte Flair shouldn't have been the main event. She just shouldn't have. They forced Charlotte into the main event because that's our queen. Get her into the main event. You just shove her in there. And as a result, we got a triple threat match, which was a botchy mess. Now, we roll out from that. Money in the Bank 2019. Charlotte Flair's challenging for the SmackDown Women's Championship that she lost at WrestleMania to Becky. The match itself was the most blatant attempt of giving Charlotte Flair an extra reign on the road to 17. Literally, Charlotte takes on Becky the match after Becky defends the Raw Women's Championship successfully against Lacey Evans. So, Charlotte has her match with Bayley. It goes 6 minutes. Charlotte has a match with Becky. It wasn't very good. Charlotte ends up winning the title. And then Bayley, who won Money in the Bank earlier in the night, runs out, cashes in, and Charlotte's reign as SmackDown Women's Champion, her, what was that? Was that her 10th or 11th reign? I don't think, it doesn't matter. Basically, her 10th, I think, reign lasted 5 minutes, and that was it. So that's your queen. That's Charlotte Flair. And ever since Money in the Bank 2019, she's been held down. A million quotations around held down. For Charlotte Flair's standards, it's unheard of. Charlotte hasn't been women's champion for, what? What's that, 7, 8 months? How can it be? No. The Queen hasn't been champion for 7, 8 months. We can't have that. Get her in the main event. Charlotte vs. Ronda. You get Vince McMahon putting the Queen in the main event. And there's all these rumors about Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. What? Excuse me? Are you for real? And we all know if they go down that path, which God no, they shouldn't. You know what Charlotte versus Rhea would be? It would be Charlotte winning the NXT Women's Championship and then dropping it back literally a month later, just so in the Hall of Fame video package they can say, Charlotte Flair, she won the Women's Championship from NXT in 2014, and she made her triumphant return after winning the 2020 Royal Rumble. The Queen won the NXT Women's Championship at WrestleMania 36 from Rhea. If they go down that path, that's the only reason they'll be doing it. It won't be to make Rhea look good. All of this force and momentum behind Rhea, it's being fed to Charlotte Flair if that happens. Now, realistically, what they're going to do with Charlotte Flair, and what I'm assuming they're going to do, is Charlotte vs. Becky for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania 36 in a match that no one could care to see. Why would anyone want to see Charlotte Becky again? We saw that match week in, week out on Raw in, 2019. Like, we just saw that every week. When no one wanted to see it, no one cared to see Charlotte Flair, but, week after week to see it, put her on TV, Charlotte on the program, team with Becky and put them against the Japanese girls, what's the name, Charlotte and Becky versus Asuka and the other one, That's what I imagine Vince McMahon saying. So you have Charlotte Flair main eventing TLC in a women's tag title match. Charlotte Flair, I'm surprised they didn't give her the women's tag belts. I really am. But, on the whole, now we're here. Charlotte Flair, the spoiled brat, saying that, what did Charlotte say exactly? That my win-loss record was the worst of any woman in 2019. When BC Amplified made a great video, which you should go out and see, saying that couldn't be further from the truth. For example, just Sonya Deville, she had a worse win-loss percentage. Mandy Rose did as well. So that's two who distinctively had worse win-loss records. But the reason Charlotte Flair, it doesn't resonate with the fans when she says stuff like that, is because it's so clearly an agenda. It's an agenda. So what? Charlotte Flair lost the matches in 2019. Let's do some revisionist history now. 2019. Let's look at the matches Charlotte lost. So she lost a couple to Becky from memory. Obviously the WrestleMania one, your match. She lost to Bayley in a Money in the Bank cash in. She lost on Raw in tag team matches where Charlotte was teaming with Natalya or Charlotte was teaming with Becky, and the Kabuki Warriors would literally either green mist Becky or green mist Natalya and pin or submit Natalya or Becky. So Charlotte's taking losses when she's not even actually being pinned. So Charlotte is, when you take all those things into consideration, Charlotte legitimately has lost barely any matches clean. Add in the fact that, let's use the handicap match for example. The Kabuki Warriors, the women's tag team champions, which I don't know why those belts are even existing, the women's tag team champions took 20 minutes just to barely beat Charlotte Flair. Do you know how ridiculous that was in that Raw episode? That's another loss on Charlotte's resume that it doesn't feel like Charlotte lost. It feels like Charlotte buried the Kabuki Warriors, but, Charlotte Flair, that was a loss. I'm being held down, that was a loss. The way they make her look, even if she's losing matches, it's this spoiled brat mentality. And now, you've got Corey Graves going on his After the Bell podcast and saying that, Charlotte Flair's being, she isn't being booked right. Becky Lynch, the fans are sick of seeing her. I wonder what that's saying. As a casual, neutral viewer with a clear mindset. They think Becky's being pushed too hard. They think Becky's, run a mile. Charlotte Flair, she's being held down. She's not being used properly. Charlotte versus Becky at WrestleMania. God forbid. I hope that's not the avenue they go. The thing with Charlotte Flair, there's no avenue you can put her in at this point where we'd love it as fans, because let's look at the women's divisions right now. Sasha will take on Bayley at WrestleMania for the women's title of SmackDown. If they don't do that, they're idiots. Becky should and needs to take on Shayna Baszler. So those are the two main roster matches. And so what are you left with? your women's champion, Charlotte Flair, or women's champion, pretty much, your women's Royal Rumble winner, Charlotte Flair, what does she have to, go for? The NXT Championship? I went over why that's a dumb idea. And God forbid, JD mentioned this in his latest video about Charlotte Flair. If they do this, what I'm about to say, there's no saving this company. Charlotte Flair in a promo on Raw mentioned, she'll compete for a title at WrestleMania. God forbid, if Charlotte Flair takes on Ronda Rousey in a regular singles match for the title of baddest woman on the planet, if that is the route you go, and Charlotte main events with Ronda, I'd give up. I wouldn't know where to go. And knowing Vince, 74-year-old Vince, he would do it. He would do it at this point. It's 2020. Knowing Vince, he'll have Charlotte and Ronda main event WrestleMania 36 with the title of baddest woman on the planet on the line. Then Vince will go off into the sunset. I wish. He'll go off on his private jet to the XFL, book these shows, Raw and SmackDown himself at 1 a.m. with a crayon, send it to Paul Heyman and Bruce Pritchard. They'll look at the script and think, oh my god, or at least Heyman will. Bruce Pritchard will probably be like, yes, Vince, yes, I love this script. And Kevin Dunn will be like, yeah. And then Paul Heyman will probably think, oh my god, I have to make this a good show. So we'll get that. Vince will get his main event that he wants, Charlotte versus Ronda, and then we'll literally get months of Charlotte as the baddest woman on the planet after she beats Ronda inevitably. Charlotte then won the titles and then reigning and getting her 17th reign eventually. So that's the video about Charlotte Flair. It's pretty all over the place, not too much structure, just talking about all these different instances with Charlotte Flair where it's so clear what they're doing with her politically, where I didn't even mention this. Hold on. Charlotte Flair allegedly didn't want to be eliminated by Shayna Baszler in the Rumble. So they changed plans from having Shayna win the Rumble to having Charlotte win it. If that really happened, which I can fully believe it happened, if that really happened, then that's just pathetic. Shayna Baszler, what's there to be, angry about being eliminated by Shayna Baszler? This is Ronda Rousey's best friend, if not one of her best friends. A woman who got Ronda Rousey into wrestling. A woman who, in Shayna Baszler, held the NXT Women's Championship for nearly 500 days. A woman who won the Survivor Series main event. I know it's kayfabe, but, she won all these things. But, I can't be eliminated by her. She's from NXT. It just doesn't make sense. It's a spoiled brat mentality. I can't stand it. I'm not even going to mention the plastic surgeries. That's not what this video is about. Anyway, Charlotte Flair. In summary, very much a spoiled brat. Everything has to be about her. And if it's not, it's going to be in this mainstream light where Charlotte's saying, I'm being held down. I only won, what was the percentage? I've only won 38% of my matches or something like that, 40%, which is BS, it's BS garbage crap. Charlotte Flair, we all know the position she's held in the company. She's the end-all be-all with the women. If Ronda's in the company, Ronda's above Charlotte, but that's it. Becky Lynch, as much as they'll say she's the GOAT, the man, the best in the company, the face, no one goes through Charlotte Flair. It's pretty much the thing where, even if, let's say, going back a few years, let's say, so Cena's the top guy in the company, but Randy Orton holds the title for 6 months. We know Cena is the top guy, but Orton, he's holding the title, so you made to think Orton's the top guy. Anyway, Charlotte Flair, this whole thing with her just needs to die down. It's relentless. Everything about this, it's so clear where they're going with this. I said earlier in the video, this whole Hall of Fame thing, they're only doing this so in 2035, when Charlotte goes in the Hall of Fame, they can say she's a 22-time women's champion. She's a 4-time Royal Rumble winner. She's the first ever 2-time Women's Hall of Famer. She's the pioneer of the women's evolution in WWE. Charlotte Flair is the reason why the women are where they are today. Charlotte Flair's this, Charlotte Flair that. Charlotte will come out in her robe. She'll say that, I'm better than my father from a resume standpoint. It's sickening. And it's the direction they want to go. Instead of booking a women's division, they're booking Charlotte and Becky. That's the women's division. That's all you've got. Everyone's a placeholder. Everyone's just someone in the way of those two getting the success that they so badly are promised. Why are you promising Charlotte anything? Why? She's just a regular person. She's not almighty. The queen clearly has rubbed off on her to a point where she thinks she's genuinely the queen. No, that's your gimmick on TV. You're not a queen, Charlotte, okay? And I can't be bothered. That's the video. Be sure to like, comment, sub. Leave down below what you think of Charlotte. I'm kind of happy I made a Charlotte video separately, because the Becky video and this if I did this all in one, it would be like 45 minutes. So anyway, be sure to like, comment, sub, leave down below what you think of Charlotte. I hope you enjoyed the video. See ya.